Now today we're going to look at something that has always been hot. This is something that's been selling on eBay like mad since eBay was first founded. It's still hot today. Hey, it's Don. Today we're going to delve into an item that is extremely hot and always has been. Now, in the past, I used to go to junkyards, and one of the things we always used to get out of there were the hood ornaments. Now, back in the 90s when eBay was just starting out, no one sold on it. A lot of folks, especially like at junkyards, hadn't a clue that the hood ornaments would go for 3, 4, 5, 10, even 20 times what they were selling them for in the junkyards. They weren't online. There wasn't an automated system back then. So I honed my skills in snagging up the best condition, the best types that I could find in any junkyard around my area. We branched out. We could make hundreds of dollars in a single day at one single junkyard if it was a vintage junkyard, one of the big junkyards in your area. Now, I still occasionally see junkyards out in the middle of nowhere. Down south in some of the areas where we lived, we could run into them occasionally. Somebody may have had a couple hundred cars in their property, and in many times they'll sell parts out of them. And that was one special place that I would get them. Now, we're going to look at some examples and show you some specifics to look for, but they are still out there right now. Places that I turn them up are flea markets, antique malls, estate sales most assuredly, usually in the garage, in the basement, a barn. Many times I've been able to pull them off of barn walls. They've been hammered up. Another place that many people may miss is inside the house. A lot of them are almost works of art, and what you'll see is people mount them onto stands and blocks of wood. I've even seen them mounted onto like marble and onyx and things like that. And many people may not even realize what they have is a hood ornament. Some of them are glass, some light up even. There's just so many different types of varieties. Let's look at a few and show you some fine examples and what to look for right now. Now, as I was saying, many people may not even realize what they have is a hood ornament. There's many pieces to some of them too. Not only are many of these earlier ones hood ornaments, but they also were probably radiator caps and just ornamentation. There's many different types of devices that would have also been mounted on the radiator also, so meters and things along that line. Now this is pieces and parts to it. It's not a complete unit, it looks like. It does look like it's missing a couple of pieces. It's from a Duesenberg. It's an earlier vehicle, something that most people, again, wouldn't realize what it is. The parts and pieces from these, just these plain pieces here, can sell for some pretty decent money. This lot sold with many bids for over $5,000. This is a garage find. This is a barn find. This is a flea market find, an estate sale find. As I said, these are all great places. I've even run into a few of them hanging at a Savers years back. So they are out there. They do show up in many different places. You just have to know to look for them. Most of the time, they're not going to be sitting on a table saying, here I am. I usually find them, again, mounted on a wall in a box with a bunch of other junk. I've scoured metal boxes and even scrap yards occasionally and found things like this. Obviously, condition is everything with these as well, so many times people will re-chrome these. This is from an early Pierce Arrow, a very fancy car, very long hood. It was a status symbol at the time, and so were a lot of the hood ornaments. That's why they can sell for thousands of dollars a piece. Just spectacular works of art. They kind of match the title of the car or the car company in many cases. Most car companies that were around in the beginning of the automotive industry had some form of radiator cap or hood ornament that distinguished their car from others. Another fine example for a Packard. Packard had a ton of different models. There are different hood ornaments for the same car company. The designs changed. Many of them were simplified. Many of the car companies had different lines and different models, and each one may have had a different one. Greek gods and Venus and things like that you'll run into as well. So many different styles, many different designs. They don't have to be complete as you saw. You may run into the winged figure separated from the rest. Even if parts of this were broken and unusable, people still like to collect them, mount them somewhere, sit them on a bookshelf or anything along that line. Here's an Oldsmobile Lark. That's the bird itself. This is their mascot. And this, again, is a radiator cap. It would have been at the end of the hood. It is basically a hood ornament. It's just not physically mounted to the hood. Again, the nicer the condition, the better the chrome, the higher they will sell. People will re-chrome these, so that is a risk that you have to worry about when you're out there. If you're spending top dollar, you better know the difference between a re-chromed one and basically an original one. There are some reproductions as well where people have cast them themselves and then had them chromed. Maybe not necessarily to fool somebody, but to offer a replacement for aftermarket parts. A lot of these will sell into the $1,000 range as well. Now this one you'd run into on a Rolls Royce. Now this is a replica. Even replicas of some of these can go for some good money. Many of the replicas were made by the actual company who first produced the actual ornaments themselves. Sometimes also they use the exact same mold that they used to actually make the original hood ornament. So I run into them on wood pieces and plaques fairly often. Many people may assume, again, that this is a $20 item and just pass it by or not think much of it, especially if it's worn down. Now, sometimes you run into brass ones, too, that it's all rubbed down. It looks dark and dingy. You may not even assume in your slightest mind that it would be a hood ornament. Weight, size, construction, mounting parts on the bottom usually distinguish what it is. Now, they made aftermarket parts back then, so you could buy ones that suited your taste back then, a radiator cap or even hood ornaments, and mount them on your car no matter what brand it is. This is a person with a very bad toothache, is what I would say. This could be a doctor, a dentist specifically, who wanted this item here. These could have been ordered in catalogs from national store chains like JCPenney's and things like that. Most cars were fairly plain. You could spiff it up. You could add something to it, kind of like the fuzzy dice in modern day cars or something along that line. Now, this is a very recognizable one here. This is for a Pontiac. And this is a Pontiac, I would say a Pontiac Chief. This is one I've run into. Never this nice, but again, it doesn't have to be spick and span and spotless to still be worth some money. In this condition, nicely chromed, plated, the whole works, almost $600. But you could easily get $150, $200 for one in far less condition. Again, people will send them off. You can still re-chrome, replate these right this second. Now, odd as you may think that a Superman hood ornament is, it is not odd in any way, shape, or form. Superman actually was used to advertise gasoline at one point, way back in the day. Now, there were also kids stores and toy stores you could find certain items just related to Superman back in the 40s and so. The Superman Tim store is a specific one. Even have some bills from it. They had money with Superman on it for the Superman Tim store. This would have been something that could have been purchased that way or in the back of comic books. This is a licensed product. Something you won't run into all the time, hence the price on this. Not many people these days would have a car you could mount a hood ornament on in the first place. So this is a vintage item. Something they wouldn't have made for many, many decades. I would gather this probably dates to the 50s or 60s maybe. I've only seen a few superhero ones, but Marvel had a few out there as well. So something to look for. Usually this won't be associated with the car item. So you're going to have to pay attention out there. You might see it mounted on a plaque or something again, or on a wood base. Even if somebody bought this knowing it was a hood ornament, it doesn't mean they actually put it on a car. Now, some are very surprising to many people at what some of these go for. Cars from the 70s, cars that I grew up with. Some of those are extremely scarce. The cars weren't well sought after. Many people weren't hunting these things down, and a lot of the cars were probably already scrapped and melted down. So a lot of these just aren't out there. You can run into new old stock like this, what it looks like here. This is for a specific, the Diamond Jubilee collection here. It's a designer model of the car. You can run into things like that for even Mustangs in some cases, or say a Camaro RS Rally Sport or something like that. I love the old muscle cars personally. To me, those are the bomb. We used to sell a ton of these sorts of things, especially the ponies off the fronts of Mustangs. Those are one of my hottest items. Every one I could get, I could sell immediately. Now, with hood ornaments as well, many of them, the brand name isn't necessarily always the issue. You may think that it's just the high class, the expensive cars that are going to be worth some decent money. A lot of these sorts, these early 70s and stuff, they're just not around anymore. There's, again, not many collectors, but they're just almost impossible to get some of these unless you're scouring junkyards and auto swap meets and things like that left and right. So in excellent condition, these sell for some good money. Now, the center of this one has a medallion. There is like an acrylic coating, and many times that's yellowed and things like that too. So that is a consideration when you're out looking for these. But don't pass them up. There are so many of these, even more common ones these days, that there's not many left. No one thought to save a Jeep hood ornament or some of the other ones that we have run into. Now, one of the ones I run into the most is the Mack truck. For some reason, everybody wants one. They used to sell for a heck of a lot more back in the day, but I can almost always get $25 to $50 for most any of them. There's a couple of different sizes. These would be mounted on the hood of a Mack truck. I've seen some big ones, some very large ones. I'm not sure if those are for dump truck or bigger size Mack trucks, but the smaller one is usually what I run into. This is the average item that you're going to see out there, and it's not going to state for the most part that it's even a hood ornament anywhere. Most people run into these probably don't know what the Mack truck emblem looks like. That's what I've personally seen. The same emblem is on hundreds of different things, all the way down to sterling silver charms and bracelets. So these are out there. It's something you need to look for. Now, one other area as well tied to this are radiator plates. Now, this would be like a maker's enameled plate that would be mounted to the front tube, the main pour spout of a radiator, or in some cases in the fin area also. But any of these sorts that you run into that are in decent condition like this one can go for some phenomenal money. Some of them may just have one simple word on it, may not be related to a modern day car, so you really got to pay some attention. You've got to look them up if you don't know what they are. The backs on these will usually have like a mounting piece, a pin, a bracket, or something like this. Some aren't marked. It doesn't look like much either, so pay attention. They're going to be small. They're not going to be anything that I usually pay a ton of money for. Now, the biggest thing I would recommend if you want to know anything about these is spend a little bit of time going through hood ornaments on eBay. Radiator caps will probably flood you with too much stuff. Most people, if they're going to list a radiator cap with a figural on it, a figure, a design, or anything, it's going to be listed as a hood ornament. That's 98% of them or more. So just doing hood ornament would be the excellent way to sort these through to see what's what. Spend a few minutes and slide down through here, and you will see there are just so many different types and designs. Some are movable. They actually move. Just you name it, they make them. Here's Uncle Sam. Here's a conquistador that actually lights up. Lots of different examples of these. Most of them, if they're in good condition and old enough, will bring you some excellent, excellent money. Now, one thing, too, to consider is the categories. There is a hood ornament category. But if you narrow it down to the actual specific category of hood ornaments, you lose a lot of the content. With just hood ornament and all of eBay, there was over 7,000 of them. And just on the first page, there was a good percentage of them that don't show up in the hood ornament category. And as you can see, this is the automobilia section with hood ornaments and emblems. But again, as I said, it's not always the best place to list them. Well over half of them are listed in a different category. So spend some time. Don't just narrow down your search when you want to look up something. And as I said, spend some time looking into these so you at least know what the parts look like. So when you see one out in the wild, you can associate it with a hood ornament instead of just a piece of junk or some old metal in a box. Well, there we have it. Hopefully that gave you some ideas, some thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell all your friends.
This boy is losing his bounce. Why can't he bounce back? He didn't fuel up with a good breakfast. Cheerio! Like this good, nutritious breakfast with toast, juice, milk, and tasty Cheerios, which has almost no sugar. When you fuel up in the morning with a Cheerios breakfast,
It'll really keep you bouncing. Wow! Cheerios!